Oh, Luke disappeared on me.
Yeah.
There. Hey, there he is. Oh, you're not so neon anymore. Nice.
I was ahead of things, and then there a million things happen right at the last second. So
Ahead of things until you weren't ahead of things type of deal.
yeah.
Yeah. So it goes. But hi, Storm.
Shut.
Ruh,
Shut.
ruh, 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 ruh. Hey, look, I speak Husky. It's like Dory from Finding Nemo. I speak Beluga Will.
Hi. Okay. You want to hang out?
He just wants love and attention. So what's going
All
on,
right.
dude?
Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for, or I guess, hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving and such. We are back to league tonight, and so we're going to be recapping what happened 2 weeks ago. I know, I had lunch.
Yeah.
We're going to be recapping what happened 2 weeks ago, and then of course we'll talk about what's going on tonight. And we're coming down to the home stretch, so
yep. Gorilla Glue Enthusiast, best username on YouTube. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so I guess we can kind of start with, like you said, we are on the home stretch. So on the screen right now is standings through 13 weeks of 17 in the first half. Our lead did shrink slightly this last week. We took, what did you take, 22, I think? Yeah, 22. And then Team Ottawa took 27.5. So they took 5.5 out of our lead. But it is very quickly becoming it's very quickly becoming a 2-horse race for who's gonna win the first half of the season. So much attitude. They do have just over a 2-week lead on fourth. Russ's team has had a
I'll be back.
Okay, no worries. Russ's team has had a not great last couple of weeks, so they are over 2 weeks worth of points behind us. Trevor's team is almost 2 weeks of points behind us. So it's very quickly becoming us and Jerry Jennings' team, the Ottawa kids, that are kind of, we're the only two that I think really at this point have a genuine, legitimate shot to win the half. For us, we do have a really, really strong last 4 weeks of the season. So we are bowling Jason Crouch's team tonight. They're in sixth right now. Then we bowl Zach's team in 13th. And then we have Trevor's team currently in third and Russ's team currently in fifth. So 6th, 13th, 3rd, 5th, the last 4 weeks is not going to be easy by any stretch, but I mean, we've hit some not easy matchups so far, and by and large, we've gotten it done. So
yeah,
I think the path is certainly there.
Yeah, some of those not easy matchups, we didn't realize that they weren't easy until we got into the middle of them. So
yeah, a couple of them have been kind of trap matchups where we thought it was where it didn't play out like we thought it would, type of deal.
So. Yeah, or we just looking at some of the teams on paper, we didn't realize that some of the teams would be as good as they are, or some of the teams would be as far down as some teams have underperformed and some teams have overperformed.
Yeah, and I mean Nick Vaughn's team is still they've been doing better, but I'm still expecting them to finish way better than 15th next half because I know a few of those guys this is their first time ever bowling league at Lawrence, and even thinking back to when I bowled this league last year, is like the first 7 or 8 weeks was just me learning how to bowl in that building in league, which is
and that's gonna be fun to talk about once we get into the second half, because again, this league is pretty cool that we bowl everybody in the league once. Yep. And we have 2 separate halves, and we bowl them all in the same order. We bowled them on different pairs, but we bowled them all in the same order. So
I had a really weird dream last week that we redrafted at the half, and I didn't know until I walked in for week 18. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? I just lost my team. No! I never remember dreams either, so that's kind of weird that I remember that one, but whatever. So anyways, let's jump over here and look at the results from, what is this now, 2 weeks ago, where we bowled Mr. Yuri Smith, or however you say his name, and of course Tyler, Mr. Tatman, Wesley from Ottawa, and your wife Angel. It was a fun, like, that's one of those teams where I'm like, I enjoy bowling against them because Tyler and Yuri, I can talk for hours with them, and Angel's effectively an adopted sister of mine. So we had a little bit of crap, a little bit of trash talk going back and forth, but that was a good time. I'm gonna be honest, and I know you referenced this a little bit because I did another of the league kind of pseudo live stream videos, and I'm gonna pull that up. I felt like I didn't really watch a whole lot of your shots as they were going down the lane somehow. And so it's kind of one of those things of like, oh, good bowling, Luke. And then look up at the end of the night. And I think you made the comment of like, yeah, I had shot 730, but I didn't bowl 730. So I guess can you kind of talk a little bit about your night since weirdly, I feel like I didn't even watch it all that much, even though you're on my team.
Yeah, it's one of those things. There's a difference between good bowling and good scoring. And this was more of a good score. Now I keep shooting. 730 has just become a really popular number for me, but something was a little off and had gotten a little off from the previous week on Friday, and it didn't quite get sorted back out, or it's just one of those little things that you don't know what's going wrong or you don't know what's going on, but something is off and you can't put your finger on it, but you're still like close enough to at least make it work. And so since I was still basically executing the game plan correctly, I had a few that I, really super tugged, and some others that I just dumped out there, and it ended up being something with my shoulders that just wasn't quite working out. But I've made all my 7 pins for the last, I don't know, month. It's actually been a while since I missed one.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna miss like 4 of them tonight.
Oh no, we're doomed. As soon as you 7 pin, then I'm just gonna start praying, dude.
Yeah.
Holy moly, we're so screwed.
Basically, it was either a clean night or I think it was a clean night.
You might have opened once and you game 1, frame 2, you split and chopped it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't remember. It was like a 410 or something stupid like that.
Yeah. It was just one of those that I completely duck hooked through the nose, and then I had like the next 6 or something. And
yeah, exactly.
But it just when it starts getting cold, my hand really shrinks up, and so just nothing fits at all remotely. And it's one of those things. Well, I don't want to put a bunch of tape in my thumb holes because then it's going to be too tight in like a game, and it's all going to be sticky and nasty trying to get it out. And so it's just and that's not going to help. That's not really going to help, because if the thumb hole's a little bit too big, I can hang with that. But if the finger holes are too big, the ball's just going to lame duck off no matter what. So
yeah,
it takes me a little bit, to get warmed up, actually warm, as in temperature warm when I get in the building and going. But
now you have an excuse to look like a pro bowler with the pullover on until halfway through game 1 now. So the problem solved.
Yeah, but I know what the game plan is now. I've been picking up my spares. If it hasn't been a clean week, it's been like 1 open, or I don't have the big splits right in the middle of the games like I used to. And so it's just, at least if I am not completely comfortable, I'm a whole lot better now at faking it than I was at the beginning of the season. If I wasn't comfortable at the beginning of the season, it was just going to be a disaster. Now, this was, somewhat of an off physical night, but I still was able to put scores up, and that's...
You're able to keep yourself close enough and keep yourself in play, and that ultimately is kind of, that's what it's all about, is being able to keep yourself in play, and that's what kind of caught me out a little bit game 2, is I was actually 28 clean for 240, 190, 240 last week. I had a clean 247 game 1, mainly going really up the lane with my NV tour, and then that went from there to I had no hold in 2 shots. And so I had a 4-9, was just a marginally up the lane type of miss. It was not that far off. And then I move off of that, and then I make the same miss again, but from like 4 further left and at big 4s. And so that was a very unfortunate sequence to 2 opens through 6 frames, one was on an open, one was on a spare, one was on a strike. So that kind of torpedoed that game really quick, and Tyler had front 9 for 260. I think he 2-8-10. No, he 2-4-10 and sent the 2 around it.
Yeah, he almost picked it up.
He should have picked it up.
He made the shot and it just didn't get the hit.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it was, and then I threw my fireball game 3 for like front 6 or 7 for another 240. So considering, because you and I have been talking some, that my downswing have been getting really, really aggressive. And so I've been focusing a lot the last 2 or 3 weeks on being more patient with that and just letting my downswing be powered by gravity essentially and not really shouldering down through it. And so even like I remember talking to you after the night was done, was like, sure, 690 is a little disappointing. That's 45 under my series average for the year. But it's disappointing, but I wasn't upset with it at the same time because I knew that my shot-to-shot process was a lot better and that I was feeling the process being better, and it was just a matter of cleaning up a couple things. I don't think my lane play strategy was honestly the best, and I know I didn't correctly assess how much the fronts were hooking in practice, and that kind of got me off track. And so I went from able to get by for 240 essentially to then I was far enough away from what the lanes were asking for in total plus transition that just totally bit me in the butt twice in 5 shots, and that was pretty much just. And then it took me the rest of the game to get caught back up to it. So it can spiral like that sometimes, but I mean, I can count on one hand the number of games I've had that start with a 1 in this league so far this year. So ultimately, could be a heck of a lot worse than it is.
Yeah. Then Jaden had a really uneventful night. Normally she has been doing these couple good games, and then somewhere, whether it's second game or third game, just everything falls apart, can't figure it out. But this was, she never had that. But again, we kind of wondered about that because Yuri and Wesley, or Yuri and Angel really were the only ones that Noah wasn't there.
Yeah.
No, so Yuri was the only one out there because everybody else was deeper than she was. And so she just didn't have the same track. She didn't have the track. The back end transition doesn't mess with her at all because she kind of just points it and walks it. And again, everybody can go watch that on James's channel.
Yep. Link is in the comments or in the live chat from a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah. So he's got that in there so you can see exactly what happened, but she points it. And so as long as she doesn't have transition mess with her heads or her mids, she's not going to be affected. It's just not. Just not going to happen. I mean, even somebody could be throwing urethane, and it almost might even help her out. I don't know.
Yeah, give her a little more shim on the tugs in. But yeah, she was just kind of chunking away, doing her thing all night. I think she went like back 5 or back 6 to get 230 and win series. Actually,
she did have a little bit of an adventure. Or Wesley was actually up on her pretty big, getting down to the 6-7 frame, and then she had an open. In the 6th, I believe, and then she had the back 6, and he had a couple not opens necessarily.
No, he missed a 6-10 in the 10th to give her the chance.
Oh, okay, but yeah,
he was on a double, and if he marked, he had series. And then I don't remember exactly on his first shot. I think it kind of maybe a little grabby, a little in or something like that, but whatever, just kind of sparked on him a bit, and then I think he drove past it and picked the 10 off on the spare.
But yeah,
unfortunately, I mean, still a very solid night for Wesley as well. And I got to say, my MVP of the match was Angel. She had a very rough first game. I think the first 5 or 6 frames, she was just like,
she had like 50 in the 5th or something. Like it was just awful. Like every one of those, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then she struck out in the 10th to get to 160.
Yeah. And then goes 473 the back 2, which was, she was crushing it. And ended up taking 2 end series off of an absent Noah. So it's what it is. Once I knew Noah wasn't going to be there, I kind of wrote that off in my head as we're probably getting 1 or 2 at most from that.
Yeah.
So because Angel is a extremely determined person, and if she can find a way, she will. And that was pretty much the exact story of the night. Yeah. Then Yuri, I felt like bowled a lot better than 630.
He did. He bowled
his game threes have just been wretched for a lot of this year, I feel like. So.
And that was just one of those things where I just barely edged him out the first couple of games. And then the last game, I think the last game was kind of my worst thrown game because I just
you Brooklyn in the 9th. I remember that.
Yeah, I got gradually.
Yuri was so mad at you.
I just got gradually tighter and tighter because I was trying to fix stuff in the middle of what I was doing. And so the last game was not, it was my worst bowled game. It was probably, I mean, if I was basing it on shot quality, it would have been down there with him. It would have been 190-2-0, and I don't think so. He bowled better than he scored, and I scored better than I bowled, but sometimes that's going to flip flop.
Yeah.
So
that's just bowling. That's kind of how it works out sometimes.
Yeah, and then Tyler just kind of does what Tyler does, and he got tapped a few times the last game and just lost the look a little bit.
No, he aced 2 shots. That one of them 2-4-10, and the other was a super washout, and he opened on both in game 3, I think.
Yeah, and then
it was like it goes off his hand. It's like, oh, that's a good shot, and then it just like never did anything. It was kind of weird.
The interesting thing though is that we look at the first game and we won pretty comfortably. We think you got an 80 point or an 80 pin lead going in. And all of a sudden, we had a fairly decent game. I mean, 880 wins.
A good 50%, chunk of them. Yeah.
Probably 50% or higher, I would guess. And they just...
we lost by 100. Yeah.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden, we're back at even. And then it's a little rough for Jaden getting started. We know that Noah's going to be the 2-0.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with how I'm throwing it. These guys just put a clinic on and weren't showing any signs of letting up, and then we ended up winning that fairly comfortably, but it was a whole lot.
It was closer. A little more adventurous, I feel like, this week.
It was closer than it looks like just looking at it on paper. And realistically, I mean, we only got them for series by 60.
Yeah, but I think we were easily still down by 50 for series, probably in the 6th or 7th frame. Because let's see, I had front 6, then I had 9 spare strike, 9 spare, 7 spare strike, if I remember right. Jaden had back 6. You had the back 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah, because I went spare, triple, spare sheet, basically.
Yeah, so that'd be 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of we finished strong, and kind of Yuri and Tyler kind of limped home to the finish a little bit, and just kind of things went our way. We take those regardless.
So
breakdown pair showdown tonight. Yes, that is correct.
Oh yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say I was about to read that wrong. So, but yes. So yeah, I was just going to start talking about them. I thought that this was a really good team to begin. And we talked about this at the beginning of the year, that this was one of the teams we picked to kind of be up there in that top 5. Because there's a lot of value there, because he got Jonathan at like 212 or something. Because Jonathan and I did not have good years last year.
Yeah.
And so he got Jonathan at a steal, and nobody knew who Norm was. And Norm's been a complete roller coaster this year, but he's put in some really big sets for him. I mean, he was most of the reason that they took 30 from Trevor week 1.
Yeah.
And then Baton's down a little bit this year, but he's been bowling a lot he's a regional. He hits all the regionals he can possibly hit, and he does fairly well in them. I think it's just a case of it's a Zach Rhodes thing. I hate house shots because everything he does is geared towards competitive, difficult bowling, and sometimes house shots can really screw with you if you're used to bowling on more difficult patterns. A house shots can actually be somewhat hard, and so I think that that's kind of what the case is it's just not working out for him.
Some of the tricks he's developed for the PBA side, for the regional side of things, just
they don't translate
back. And so it's kind of, it almost becomes a which do you want to develop to be your A game, like the toolkit you need for the hard stuff, or the toolkit for a scratch league on house shot type of deal. Which that's definitely where Zach gets trapped sometimes, because his ball roll is just so good on the tough, but it just doesn't really see it right on.
Yeah, it doesn't see it right at all,
especially Royal Crest. And then, with myself, I'm planning on hitting more regionals next year. And so I might be, if that same type of thing happens to me, I could see myself dropping 10 pins at least for my Medlin average next year if I end up retooling stuff to be more sport centric. But, like I said, we'll see what happens with that. But as far as our actual matchup this week, I think we're just going to roll with the same lineup we've always have. Jaden, Noah, you, me has seemed, or you, Noah, Jaden, me, pick, flip a coin, pick your poison. Either one has worked really well. It just depends on who gets the 3 spot. And then Jason's team has been rolling with this exact lineup, I believe, every week since week 5, if I remember correctly. Since averages kicked in.
the averages have kind of stayed this way. Even though typically the lowest average bowler goes in the 2-hole, but again, Norm's kind of up and down. He'll shoot 740 and follow that up with thank you, Bucko. And then he'll shoot 570 the next week, and then hey, be nice. I know I'm not talking to you. Just a second. I will go let you out in a minute. Okay? I know. It's husky weather, and he just cannot stand being in here.
I see Noah and Norm is actually pretty similar bowlers from an overall profile perspective.
Because they both put it down the side. Norm just doesn't move around quite as much, and so Norm's problem is when the track starts burning up, he tries to sit there and make it work, and sometimes it just doesn't work. But if he doesn't have anybody out there screwing with him, he's pretty accurate, and so he's just gonna put it down the side, and
he's gonna stay there and crush. And I think that was part of because when did I grab so their week 1 match was actually against Trevor's team on this exact pair.
Yeah.
And let's think about Trevor's team. Brent, who's going to be 4th arrow on everything. Adam, who just plunks it down the side, and 2 lefties.
Yeah, and 2 lefties.
Yeah.
And for Norm, Jonathan's out there, but a couple of lower rev rates out there, that's not going to do anything. Jason's inside of him, John's inside of him, Brent's inside of him, and even Adam Riley is more 3rd arrow-ish. He's not quite as straight down the lane as they are. And so, if Norm can sit there, and it's kind of the same way as Jaden, if her track does not get blown up, she's going to be fine. If his track does not blow up, he's going to be fine. Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on there.
Yep. So I think it will be, and they're going to be a tough opponent. They are 33,909. What is that? Third, I think. 35, 34, 34. So they're 4th in total pinfall and sitting in 6th overall. So I don't think they're going to be a pushover at all. I think this is top to bottom one of our tougher matches, honestly. Like just thinking about how we match up with each other is Jaden against John. I think we have Jaden's going to be kind of more steady. Eddie Baton's going to be a little more up and down is kind of what I expect. Noah and Norm, basically the same bowler.
Flip a coin.
And they're going to be heads up. You and Hawes, I give the edge to you just because you've been on a complete heater the last couple months, but at the same time.
And I've got the left side all to myself. But again, Jonathan and I had the exact same pinfall like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And he's had a rough couple weeks.
He's had a rough one. You've been crushing it.
We've been hitting some fair pairs too.
Yeah, I think they've been spending some more time on the low end and not been having a great time as a result.
Yeah.
And then, so you and Hawes, I think will be a fun match, but I narrowly give the edge to you.
Flip a coin. Yeah, we could flip a coin on that one too. But I've been scoring well enough, and I at least I'm going to be by myself. Yeah. And even if I'm not, again, I'm having a night like I was 2 weeks ago, I have a very clear game plan, and I know what's going on, and I know even if I'm not throwing it great, I know I can keep it in play and at least keep it in the pocket. So
yeah, and then Crouch versus myself, I'm always going to bet on myself just because that's how I roll. But at the same time, I've seen Crouch bowl. I know what he's capable of. I'd be shocked if he shoots 619 again. That was a very uncharacteristic game 3 for him last week.
Well, and all of them, Norm was the only one
they just
that
had a
found
really
anything
rough
that last game last week.
Yeah, they had a rough game 3 period. And that was a weird pair with how it broke down to. I was practicing on it a little bit after, and it was weird.
Jason's very much in the zone of a Bo McVeigh or something that you just it's not gonna. Yeah, he's definitely competitive.
Yeah, but if he gets run over, it's not going to phase him.
And that's the thing and he's not going to stop going either.
Yeah,
he's not one to just kind of.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's gonna bear down and try to get something done, but he's got enough history that he knows, he
knows who he is. Yeah.
He's not gonna let one bad night or one rough night shake him.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd pencil him for 680 minimum tonight, honestly. And then also got a little upgrade here. I made my own average chart so you can see it a little more clearly. We are on 7 and 8 tonight. It's actually now the third highest scoring pair in the league, just a half a stick behind 13 and 14.
And it's been fairly consistent right there too, because it had been 11 and 12 took a nosedive.
Yeah, there were a couple of really. I think Tennyson's team might have caught that pair twice in the last.
Yeah, because it had kind of peaked. It kind of been peaking right there at 9 and 10, and then just kind of going down pretty equally each direction you go. But now 11 and 12 is falling off the planet. And
yeah, let me. Cause I have another sheet where I can take a look at that real quick and just kind of see what happened. 11 and 12, 11 and 12. Yeah, Tennyson and Danny, then us versus Trent's team. Oh, here's why. The last 2 weeks combined, the pair average 24-28 divided by 12. The pair average is 202.
Okay, so yeah,
that's why is Johnny and Nick's team faced off. Johnny won 25-05 to 23-34. And then Crouch and Keeler bowled on that pair last week, and the two teams combined went plus 75.
Yeah.
So that's where that drop has come from. And so it is a little bit uncharacteristic.
We see every pair twice in the half too, right?
Except 17. We catch 17 and 18 once for the first half.
Okay, but basically it's kind of the same way. So once we get through the first half, it's going to be funny kind of because it's almost like everything's going to be starting over because the points reset. You still have the hierarchy of who got the first half, but that's kind of set aside for the moment. And then everything goes back, but we'll still have all the data.
We'll have 17 weeks plus worth of data and kind of what's going to happen on every pair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or have an idea at least. I'm just glad we're not catching Ottawa on 1 and 2 against second half. That wasn't very fun.
Yeah, that'll be nice. And then of course I think we're a better team now too.
Yeah,
they're probably a better team now too. But
yeah, they've had a couple of really strong weeks. So
I think at this point we're good enough to where we can and should be able to bet on ourselves virtually every week, regardless of the matchup. And again, that's not taking shots at anybody. Yeah. But it's kind of like, again, you would expect Russ to walk in and think is like, oh, I mean, I'm probably going to win all my points tonight. If I don't, then whatever. But you kind of have to think it's just one of those things. If we win the half, we're kind of the team to beat basically. And that's just facts or fact.
Yeah, pretty much. You know what's wild is I was looking back at week by week results. I think I've swept once this whole season.
Yeah.
No, twice. Rob and Jesse the first 2 weeks, and then I think that's pretty much it. Everything else has been a 3-1 except for lost set to Johnny and Tyler.
So, yeah, I think mine has been very one-sided. I have lost the vast majority of my points for like the first 6 weeks. And I won the vast majority of the last however many.
But yeah, home stretch for sure. I got 4 weeks left in the half. So I think while you were dealing with Storm Dog for a minute there, I was kind of talking about kind of where we are in the standings. What's up, Biddle? And it's like we've got 2 weeks on fourth. So realistically at this point is kind of, and especially with us both, as long as we take care of business against Trevor's team in week 16, I really think us and Jerry's team are the only ones that are really in play to win the half at this point. Now, if Trevor's team takes like 27-28 from us and we have a rough couple weeks around that, there is a path for Trevor's team to kind of make a run, but that's a whole lot that has to go a certain way. And Trevor's team, where are they? Team 8, Team 17. They're bowling Danny's team on 3 and 4 tonight. And then 16. No, wait. Sorry. Team 17. Oh, they're bowling Johnny's team on 3 and 4. So that'll be a tough match for them. And then they've got Team 16, which is Kreitzer's team the week after.
And that's going to be a tough.
They've got a tough matchup. They've got 2 teams that are just like the annoying gnats that will never leave you alone type of deal coming up the next few weeks. So maybe Trevor's team gets to 40 from those 2 weeks combined. So if we can kind of keep pace and keep that cushion, I think we'll be okay. But,
yeah, we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and that's again the strength of our team is the team games, because we've still
we're leading the
still
league
winning
in
more
teams
team games
games
than
won.
anybody else, and that's where the majority of but that's also the strength of Crouch too, because they're they're up there too.
We're 28-11 on team games through 13 weeks, and Crouch's was at 23-16, but that with the fourth highest total pinfall is a little bit of an anomaly. I feel like anomaly.
Yeah, I see.
Words are hard.
Again, a straight up split is kind of difficult to do, actually. So most of the time, it's 20 points. One team or the other gets 20 plus. So I mean, I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those nights where I'm not terribly optimistic about or feeling terribly comfortable about getting some. I think it's going to be 20-12 either way it goes. I think it's going to be fairly tight unless just some weird, just some unexpected things happen.
Well, you say this is hard to do an even split, and we've done it twice in 13 weeks.
Yeah,
there's that. But math is weird. Equipment wise, obviously the Summit is coming for you, and then 3 other balls that don't matter, and then your ice, and that's pretty much night ice.
Pretty much. The TNT infused is going to be in there. The Phase G kind of has to be. I'm going back and forth between that and the Phase Tour, because the TNT infused has kind of worked into being a cleaner ball, but it's a different shape than the Phase G, and I just have not really used cleaner stuff.
Yeah,
I just
so it's kind of do you really want to bring 2 of them?
Yeah, it would be more or less because the TNT infused is a definite step down from the Summit. The Phase Tour is closer to the Summit on traction. It's just a little different shape, and so if I need a shape delta with whatever else I'm taking, I don't really have it. But I'm also trying to decide whether or not I stick like a virtual energy blackout or something else in there. So it might just be a Summit Phase Tour for similar hook potentials in different shapes, and then TNT infused Phase G for similar hook potentials and different shapes.
Yeah,
because I don't.
Smart. Yeah,
but there again, that doesn't really leave me anything to edge in with if I need to. But I think
which is where something like a DNA might come into play, right?
Yeah, the DNA, that's the one I was missing. I think that's what's going to catch that last. I'm going to bring the Phase G, but the DNA has kind of established itself as my step down off the Summit if I need to get inside. So yeah, the DNA is Eric is saying the Summit.
That is not no, that the new blue hammer is the goat lefty. But you can't use that right now. So very slightly unfortunate.
Yeah, the Summit is very, very good, and it took me a few months to catch on to it or figure it out. So that's gonna be interesting. We'll have a lot of fun to talk about the week we bowl Trevor, because that'll be almost half the pair will be lefties.
Yeah, it'll be you and Eric and Trevor. I'll be able to just
camp
to the right and not have to move at all. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, I've got the slowest speed. We'll talk about that whenever we bowl.
I think
it might actually be no, it's not next week. It's
2 weeks. Yeah, so we've got Crouch tonight, and then Zach next week, and then Trevor, and then
and then it's Trevor,
and then Russ.
Russ.
Yep. For myself, the black ball, trusty NV Tour, of course, is always in the bag everywhere, no matter what. So that's coming. I actually drilled a ethos about a week ago, and that has really, really impressed me. I can kind of splash pins around with it. It's not great from right, but if I can get left and just kind of fade and roll it, it is absolutely incredible. So that is definitely in the bag. The fireball was my game 3 ball last week. If the mints do get a little crispy, I think that's going to be my go-to for the rest of the year. That has actually settled into what I wanted my MV Tour Pearl to be when I drilled it.
Yeah, I can see that.
I've been really liking that. And then just to kind of have an offset shape more than anything else, probably going to take my top speed with me, the pin down one. Just something where I can kind of thump on it, get my hand a little more forward, and have it get down lane a little bit easier than my MV Tour, but still really slow down and tumble. So just kind of different, kind of an offset look to the rest of my bag, more or less. But realistically, especially against this team tonight, I expect it to be NV2 or Ethos log out is kind of my expectation, essentially.
Yeah. So Biddle put in here, saw this in Panda Pack, which this is the main channel of our Discord, by the way, our members side of the Discord. Yep. How long do you get to practice before league starts? How many shots per? So we get 10 minutes of practice, but we all do 1 shot per. And I believe that that's actually a rule, a league rule too. You take one
I think
shot.
it is, yeah.
You take 1 shot and you move on, because that way you get more shots instead of waiting for the rack to go up and then come down and then waiting for your ball to get back and whatever else. So if you just throw a shot and move on, people warm up differently too. Some people start with shooting spares, other people start with this. And again, it's going to take you 5 minutes. It's going to take you a handful of shots just to get loose enough to start even caring about what's happening on the lane. And so it's basically like, just get up there. The people that worry about trying to strike as soon as they hit the lane in practice confuse me.
Yeah, same.
Get everybody loose, give everybody a chance to get loose. So you just bang, 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 bang. And then once you get closer to the time, then it's like, okay, well, if somebody leaves you a corner pin, you shoot that, or
that's when I'll be walking up with my spare ball in my hand and being like, okay, if you leave a spare, because my practice routine is I'll do 4 shots of just walk-up drills, usually a couple like outside out and a couple inside out. One with a stronger ball, one with a weaker ball, just to kind of get a feel for what the oil and the friction are acting like that night. And then as I'm actually building up from those walk-up drills to a full approach, which is another probably two or three shots before I'm at 100% like effort, essentially. Those are when I'm kind of starting to get a baseline feel for what the lane is asking for zone-wise. Kind of starting to narrow down equipment. Then my last 3-ish shots, I'll usually get in 8 to 10 shots pretty easily. That's when I'm making sure I'm lined up, and also I like to shoot a 10 pin, mid to late through practice, just as a systems check of making sure my swing plane is okay laterally, making sure my timing is okay. That's just kind of an indexing point for me, essentially, from a physical game perspective. Of shoot a 10 pin, make sure everything feels good. Okay, we're good for the night. And if not, then it's just kind of fix stuff as we get there. But I mean, there have been nights where I haven't even known how to strike on the pair at the end of practice. You just kind of figure it out as you go. But as much as the lanes can change on the right side over a 3-game league night, especially some of the teams in this league, is just kind of whatever I have at the end of practice is not going to be there by frame 7 anyways. So it kind of is, if I'm not there right away, I'd have to work a little harder to make up the pins later on, but it's not the end of the world by any stretch. It's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, I kind of just make sure that I've got the right look at the lane for my 7 pins, and then know which ball I'm throwing.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of...
Please don't bring the IQ 78 as your spare ball tonight, by the way.
Yeah,
please. Okay.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, we're good.
I think I
had to go there.
I had gotten that figured out, so it might be interesting to go back to the ice now after I spent so much time with it the other night. But yes, this year I think that if you actually kept track, if you just throw 1 shot and move on, I think it gets you an extra 3 to 4 shots in 10 minutes, as long as people are going through. And we don't really pay attention to lane courtesy either. As long as you're not like stepping on somebody, or as long as I'm not getting up next to like Ken Caudell, who starts as long as I'm not on this lane and he's to the left of me, then we're going to be fine there. We just get loose and kind of
make sure you don't kick each other at the foul line, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes the first 2-3 frames of the first game to kind of get worked into it again, it just I had I was a little slow getting started a couple weeks ago, but I finished just fine, got my point, and so
just kind of betting on yourself to figure it out. Oh, there was something else I was about to say. Oh yeah, slight tip of the cap to you is in order. Drafted you, I think you were around like 30th to 35th on the board in average coming into this year. You're currently sitting in the 12th spot, or 12th highest average in the league. So tip of the cap there. Well inside the captain cutoff for next year. So maybe we can run this back next year and kind of have a little bit more of a rivalry going on and have a little bit more of a rivalry going on. And there's a couple people in the draft I think you and I will be fighting over as well, so that'll be fun to deal with.
Yeah, I think last week especially, if I can hold it together when I'm not sharp, then yeah, I'm definitely going the right way, and so that's encouraging. Even if I didn't execute well, that's not a whole lot of fun. But not executing well, you always hope that you are at least close enough or know what you're doing enough to fake it. Because everybody, I mean, again, Shannon O'Keefe got the yips, and she got the yips months ago, and she's still working through it. And so every once in a while, even the best in the world will get into a little funk where stuff just doesn't feel right. But as long as you're doing the right things, as long as you've got what's going on up here, and as long as you're generally doing the right things, you should be able to fake it. And before
it's gonna work out most of the time.
Yeah, I just haven't been able to fake it before, and now I feel like I can kind of comfortably fake it. As we're just in league, as long as we're just in league, but I haven't even been able to fake it in league.
Yeah.
So now if I'm not sharp, I feel more comfortable about at least being able to get something up on the board, and then we'll figure the details out later.
Yep, for sure. But yeah, that should be a fun time tonight. 7 and 8, just from my notes, the 8 tends to hook a little more than 7. So I'll just have to keep an eye on that throughout the night. But otherwise, not really a weird pair. I've actually bowled really well on this pair over the summer.
Yeah, and I think what did we do last time on this pair?
Last time on this pair was when we bowled Bo McVeigh's team, and you got that was the night that 5 was screaming for you.
Oh yeah, that was that weird night. So yeah, I'll just theoretically I can throw it out. We'll see if it happens again tonight, but that is a good thing to remind me to keep track of, is that lane 7 was just 5 boards.
Was it 7 or was it 8 or was it both?
It was 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was actually fairly okay on 8. It just 7 was a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And so it was just like strike, dumb shit, strike, dumb shit. So
yeah, pretty much. So
all right.
Anyway, let's go ahead and deboard this train before we get any further off the rails. But no, it should be a fun time tonight. Not sure if I'm going to do any more league night commentary streams or commentary videos the rest of this year. But I'll be doing that a couple times every half at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty fun. Just kind of spread it out a little bit, make sure it kind of stays interesting for folks. Quick question for you, Luke, in the chat. That one from Jeffrey.
Yeah. Seeing the blackout to 3K, it acts like it's at 800 grit. I can't seem to get any back in once I knock off the polish, and I can't find step 2. Storm has a couple new compounds. You probably want the rough edge. They have rough edge and smooth edge, and everything I've heard on them sounds pretty promising. So the rough edge is closer to what step 2 was.
Yeah.
So I would give that a shot. I would almost just sand it down to there and let it lane shine. REX is a really weird cover. It gets really smooth once you put some surface on it. Angels was the same way. Hers is the smoothest blackout I've ever seen, but we took it down to 1,000 and finished it with reactive scuff, and it's just nice and blendy. REX seems to work well polished, but then it gets kind of weak-ish, but I think that's the surface it acts best at because it is very controllable for what it kind of looks like. I'm still kind of figuring out that cover myself. And as much as we've seen that cover, you'd think it'd be going a little bit faster, but it's going to be weird anyway, just because it's a very, very strong cover with a little bit of a very, very weak cover in it. And so it might be one of those.
So it's a weird mishmash feeling sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just knock off the polish and then just throw it until it lane shines back up. And it's not just you.
Yeah.
It's not just you. Don't worry
Pretty
about
much.
It does act better polished, but yeah, either get some rough edge or just let it lane shine.
Yeah.
Back
or
up.
like what I've done with a lot of my SPI shiny stuff is I'll go 500, 1,000, 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Let it lane shine from there.
4K.
Getting up to effectively a 4K fast with a little more teeth underneath it, more or less. But again, same concept and just letting it lane shine like you give it 3 games and it's there, but just with a more consistent mid lane. So started streaming 44 minutes ago. Yeah, whatever. That's shared blame on this one, but
Yeah.
With that, I think it is time for us to sign off. So I've got to get some work done, and we got league tonight. So
Yep. So
has been fun,
yeah,
Luke. Yeah.
we'll see you there, and hopefully we again have good news next week.
Fingers
So.
crossed.